What if you spent 4 years preparing for your future, only to discover that the world changed while you were studying? Imagine walking across a graduation stage in 2026. You receive your degree. Your family cheers. Your friends celebrate. And yet, somewhere in the back of your mind, a question begins to grow. Now what? For generations, the path seemed straightforward. Study hard. Earn a degree. Get your first job. Build a career. But for many graduates entering the workforce in 2026, that path suddenly feels far less certain than it once did. This is not because graduates are less talented. It is not because they worked less hard. In many ways, today's graduates may be more educated, more connected, and more technologically skilled than any generation before them. The challenge is that they are graduating into a world that is changing at an extraordinary speed. And at the center of that change is a technology that seems to dominate every conversation. Artificial intelligence. Only a few years ago, AI felt like something from the future. Today, it can write emails, generate images, analyze data, create presentations, answer questions, write computer code, and in some cases, perform tasks that once required entire teams of people. This creates an uncomfortable question. If software can perform some of the work traditionally assigned to entry-level employees, what happens to the people who were supposed to do those jobs? For many graduates, this question lingers quietly in the background. Not because AI is replacing every job, but because nobody is completely sure where things are heading next. Historically, entry-level jobs served an important purpose. They were not only about getting work done. They were training grounds. Places where people learned how industries functioned. Where mistakes could be made. Where skills could be developed. Where experience was earned. In many professions, the beginner stage acted like the first rung of a ladder. But what happens if some of those first rungs begin to disappear? Imagine a marketing team. A task that once required several junior employees might now be completed by one experienced worker using AI tools. The company still needs people, but perhaps fewer beginners than before. The same pattern can appear in software development, research, customer support, design, finance, and many other fields. This creates what some people call an experience paradox. Companies often want experienced workers, but experience can only be gained by first being given an opportunity. For graduates, this can feel frustrating. You need experience to get hired. Yet you need a job to gain experience. The result is uncertainty. And uncertainty affects humans in powerful ways. Psychologists have discovered something fascinating. People often find uncertainty more stressful than receiving bad news. If you know exactly what challenge lies ahead, your brain can begin creating a plan. But when the future is unclear, your mind tends to fill the gaps with possibilities. Many of those possibilities are negative. What if I cannot find work? What if AI replaces my field? What if everyone else is doing better than me? What if I studied the wrong thing? These questions can become exhausting. Social media often makes this worse. A graduate scrolling through their phone might see classmates announcing promotions, new jobs, exciting opportunities, major accomplishments. What they rarely see are the hundreds of applications, the rejection emails, the uncertainty, the late-night worries, the moments of self-doubt. As a result, many graduates begin comparing their private struggles to someone else's public highlights. And that comparison can create the illusion that everyone else has everything figured out. In reality, most people are still trying to find their way, especially during periods of rapid change. Yet history offers an interesting perspective. This is not the first time technology has transformed the workforce. When computers became common, many feared widespread job loss. When the internet arrived, entire industries changed. When smartphones appeared, new careers emerged that had never existed before. Every major technological shift creates disruption. Old jobs disappear. Existing jobs evolve. And entirely new opportunities emerge. The challenge is that these changes rarely happen in a smooth or predictable way. People living through the transition often feel confused. Only years later does the pattern become obvious. Imagine graduating in the early days of the internet. At that moment, nobody knew that future careers would include social media managers, app developers, cloud architects, content creators, or digital marketers. Many of today's jobs would have sounded completely fictional. The same may be true for AI. Some careers will likely shrink. Others will transform. And entirely new professions may emerge that we cannot yet fully imagine. This brings us to an important distinction. Many discussions focus on whether AI will replace people. But perhaps a more useful question is this: who will learn to work alongside AI most effectively? Consider two graduates. The first graduate treats education as something that ended the moment they received a diploma. The second graduate views learning as a lifelong process. The first graduate resists change. The second adapts. The first graduate sees AI as a threat. The second sees it as a tool. Over time, which person is more likely to thrive? The answer becomes increasingly clear. Throughout history, adaptability has often mattered more than prediction. The people who succeed are rarely those who perfectly predict the future. They are usually the ones who respond effectively when the future arrives. And that may be one of the most important lessons for graduates in 2026. The world is changing. But it has always been changing. Previous generations faced industrial revolutions, globalization, the rise of personal computers, the internet, smartphones. Now, a new generation faces artificial intelligence. Every generation encounters a technology that reshapes the rules. This may simply be the defining technology of our era. That does not mean the path ahead will be easy. Many graduates will face setbacks. Some will struggle to find opportunities. Others may discover that the career they expected no longer looks the way they imagined. But uncertainty does not necessarily mean hopelessness. In fact, uncertainty often appears whenever society is creating something new. The future has not been written yet. And the people entering the workforce today will help shape what comes next. Perhaps the most valuable skill in 2026 is not coding, or marketing, or engineering, or even artificial intelligence itself. Perhaps the most valuable skill is the ability to keep learning, to stay curious, to adapt, to solve problems, and to continue moving forward when the world refuses to stand still. Because while technology changes rapidly, one thing remains remarkably consistent. Humans are incredibly adaptable. Again and again, we find new ways to create value, to build communities, to solve problems, and to imagine futures that once seemed impossible. Maybe the story of graduates in 2026 is not a story about being replaced. Maybe it is a story about learning how to evolve. And if history is any guide, that story is only beginning. If you enjoyed exploring this question with us, please like this video, share it with someone who might find it interesting, and subscribe to Lucasology for more fascinating journeys into science, technology, psychology, and the future of our world. Until next time, stay curious.